Okay, today we're going to be doing Dolby Atmos measurements in REW. Everything you need to know and take care of. A lot of people have asked me about, like, could you just do a video doing the basics of like how to take measurements and things like that. This is kind of something I didn't really think about doing, but with so many people actually asking me, I thought it would be a good idea to do it. So a couple of things. This is a lot of people have asked me to do this for Obsessive Compulsive Audiophiles Acoustica, like how to take measurements and get everything set up for that. I'm currently using Acoustica and it does sound great. So, and I use all of my own measurements from REW. So, so yeah, let's get going. So, where shall we start? First off, you will need VLC player, so let's download that. And REW you will need. I already have both of these installed, but I just want to go through the same process as you would. Yep. Let's see. Okay. So it's basically going to delete my old preferences as well. And I'll show you the settings you need for VLC player. May as well do that now. Fine. Okay. Preferences. I don't think this is going to matter. I don't think it matters for now. I'm OCD, I want to change some of these, but for now I'm just going to leave them. If you come over to settings, turn on always start at a particular level. I always want to make sure it's outputting the same volume all the time, which is 100%. Output module should be Windows Media Multimedia Device Output. You want to enable pass-through for HDMI. I turn off enable time stretching just in case, but I don't think that when you play through HDMI and through bitstream content that some of these settings have an effect. But hey, just in case they do have an effect, I don't want timing to change on anything that's going on. I don't want the frequency to change, the pitch to change, or anything like that, just in case this could have an effect. Now, by default, it should pick your receiver to play, because right now you should have your HDMI cable from this laptop or your PC into your receiver, and it should be able to see here, yeah, see Denon AVR. So basically, when anything through VLC player plays, it will play now through well, I have it through the TV, but I have it through my Denon receiver. If you wanted to output it through other things, you could. Like if you didn't have that, but we're doing it through the Denon receiver today. That's everything you need to do, right? I would change things on the other side, on the interface side, but for now it doesn't matter. This is all you need to do in the audio. Oh, this needs to be on. I must have turned that off. So yeah, whenever you start anything, it's always at the same volume. There's nothing weird going on, and then you save. Exit, and now VLC player is ready. So this is REW. This is this will be the latest beta. So you download that. 85. Open. I'll leave links to all of this in the description. If you don't have VLC player, if you don't have the latest version. So update the existing. Accept. 3 gig. Allow multiple instances. Doesn't really matter, but yep. Okay. We don't actually need to run this now, but yeah. So here the output here, or sorry, the input should be UMIC exclusive. It shouldn't be this line UMIC 2 here. It should be exclusive UMIC 2. For other people, it's going to say exclusive UMIC 1. That's exactly what you want to pick. For now, I will set this. We're not playing sweeps through REW, but I am going to use it. So again, exclusive Denon is what you want. You don't want just Denon, you want exclusive. Java is what I use. It's perfectly fine. That's my calibration file for my UMIC 2. You would put a UMIC 1 calibration file in here if you have a UMIC 1. The reason I bought the UMIC 2 is I just wanted to see what the differences were with it. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put psychoacoustic smoothing on. The reason is because when you measure, having it being in psychoacoustic is really just a display type, because you can always go back to like no smoothing or whatever you want to do. Like when you run Acoustica, say, it removes the smoothing, so it doesn't matter anyway. So the reason I choose to use psychoacoustic is because then I can have an idea in my mind of what's going on with the sound, and it's just easier for people and me to read. I think that's it. You should you should not have this checked, drop filters if the gain is too small. And I honestly think that is about it with this. There is not much to it. Let's come out of this. So that's those two downloaded. Now really quick, Windows. There's two places to check how you have your sound set up. Everything now at this point needs to be in 24-bit 48. So, there's my headphones. Denon. So, I have mine set to 7.1. I don't have it set for Dolby Atmos. You don't need to with VLC player. It will force Dolby Atmos through. You could have this set to stereo, so it doesn't matter. So, they're all my speakers, apart from the Atmos ones, and they are all full range. It shouldn't make a difference, but just to be sure, have everything checked and everything checked for full range. Properties. It's at 0 dB, which is as loud as it could be for the receiver, the signal to the receiver. You don't want to lower this. 24-bit 48, and allow things to be exclusive. These should both be checked. So that's good. One of the reasons why you want 24-bit 48 is because Odyssey is native 24-bit 48. Oh, actually, we've got another thing to do. So recording. That's my mic. Where's my UMIC? So levels on the UMIC or any mic that you're using, you can change. If you right click here, you can change this to a percentage, which I think most people will see. But the best thing to do is to change this to dB, because when I had the UMIC 1, the volume was down here. But even down here, I think the volume level is like 51 or between 51 or 53 on a UMIC 1. But if you switch this to dB, it actually says 0. And so the reason it's set in that volume is so the mic itself doesn't clip. So as long as this says 0, when you right click and decibels are selected, the microphone will not clip. I automatically turn all enhancements off for everything. Like, that's just... Alright, so allow things to be exclusive, same thing. 24-bit 48. Again, everything is locked to 24-bit 48. Now, just to be sure, because this is Windows and you just absolutely never know half the time, it is annoying. I've seen differences in 2 different settings before in the sound section. So just to be sure, well, let's check the Denon. (24-bit 48). Spatial audio is off, 100%. Perfect. And then the mic itself is this one, U-mic 2. Yours will be a U-mic 1, or a lot of people's. Because I've had people contacting me saying, I have a U-mic 1, can you please do this? 24-bit 48. So, test mode. Yeah, I wouldn't bother with that. Audio enhancements are off. And that's basically the check you need. Everything, again, needs to be in 24-bit 48. And yeah, so we have these downloaded. We don't need them anymore because they've been... Okay. So on his videos, on OCA's videos, he has links in his description to 2 things. Well, a lot of things. One is this Evo Neuron, which basically allows, is a quick way for you not to worry to get your receiver into measuring mode. Now, you can do this manually if you want. You can. But OCA made a file essentially to send to your receiver to say, these are the settings that need to be this way for you to measure properly and get good results. So I'm just going to do that today. Then there's other links for Acoustica itself, plus the Dolby Atmos measurement sweeps. Let me see what's going on. We may as well download these now. This is the reference file you would need for REW. Let's download that. Is that downloaded or... Yeah. Okay. We want lossless files. How do I download all these? Download. This might take a while, being it zipped like this. Ooh. That was quick. Is Google Drive getting faster at zipping files? Because it was a real pig before. Okay, so we extract these. Alright. I'm OCD2. I always have to get rid of my files here. Okay. I'm pulling it out of there. Cut. Paste. We can delete that. Alright. Now, what I would do if I was you is just make sure these are all MLP files. I have, through moving files around one time, I had an uncompressed file in here, so it is just best to check. So, okay. So what I would do now if I was you is figure out what your speaker names are called. So, one thing you can do, I will probably link this. This is just something I put together. I think, actually what I might have done is inspected the HTML of OCA's file for Acoustica and borrowed all of the names from that. So again, this is all on OCA. This is all of the names of every single speaker that is possible with a Denon and Marantz, and I mean, it could be all of the speakers anyway. Maybe up to 16 channels? I'm not sure. There might even be more. Everything is listed though, so you just need to figure out what your speakers are called. And from now on, and me going forward as well, I make sure I name my speakers when I sweep in exactly the same way that now these are called, because when you measure with Acoustica will be looking for the names of the channels, like C for center, front left FL, front right. So just make sure you understand what your speakers are actually called and what they're abbreviated to. So knowing that, what I would do now is create a new folder, my speakers. Alright, now what we want to do is put all of my speakers, I have 11 speakers, with front height, with top heights, well not top heights, front height and rear heights. So I want to put them all into one folder so it makes it easier for me to know how to sweep, basically. Because if you're sweeping and you've got all of these channels and you don't know what they are, it's going to be really confusing. So, alright, center, front left, front right, surround back right, God, these are not in order. Top, front, right, no. Mine are not tops, they're front tights, so it's like back Dolby left, I think. Front Dolby left, front height left. Front wide left, rear height left, I want that, rear height right, surround back left, surround left, wait, SD left, that's not correct. Alright, surround left, A, surround right A, subwoofer, top, front, no, top middle, what am I missing? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There should be 12. So surround back right. I have surround back right and surround back left. I have the surrounds. I have the fronts. Alright, so it's just the heights. Front height left. I'm not seeing it. Oh. Front height right. Oh, it's up here. Who spotted that before me? Alright, so cut. You could copy, but I'm going to cut. Stick everything in here. Let's do this. Let's double check this. So center, front height right. I wish they was in order. Wait, the front height left didn't come through. Unless it's in a different order. Front height left. Front height left, there it is. Surround back left. Surround back right. I would almost like to reorder these. So when I sweep, it's like center channel is 1, left and right are 2 and 3, you know, and do that. My other file is actually in a nice order. It's center, then it's the front heights, and then it's the left and the right, and it keeps everything in pairs. Can I like maybe sort by? I don't think I'd want to sort by name. I have to do this. This should... Oh, wait. Why? Let's go back in and see. Okay, it did do it. Rename 3. Good. Front height right, that can be 4. No, it can't, it'll be 5. So front height right. Front height left, that would be 4. Refresh. Windows has been really weird. So rear height left, that would be 6. Rear height right would be 7. This will be 8. 8. 9. Can I refresh it? Yeah. Okay. 10. 11. Refresh. I don't know what's going on. Windows has never done this before. My speakers. See what? Oh, wait, it's because it's a 1? Come on. Okay, you made me do it. 10 dash 1. I'm gonna do that. How to use Windows, guys. Why am I not sorting by name? There you go. Okay, problem solved. Okay, I'm not gonna edit this or anything, but If you want to organize yours too, to be in exactly the same way, that is kind of how you go about it. I guess this could be 11 or 10. I just want to see it, just for peace of mind. And 11, as long as these are in the right order, I don't care. Perfect, yeah, just organized by name. Okay. Problem solved. Subwoofers at the end, that's fine as well. So that's exactly as we want it. So again, yeah, if you're having issues with like names of things all over the place, sort by name, so it should keep everything together, the pairs at least. But if you are like me, like you like to always sweep in the same order, this is basically the way I've been doing it for a while. Sweeping the fronts, then sweeping the front heights. And the reason I do that is because I'm in the middle of the room here, but typically whenever I sweep the front, I am behind the couch, just so there's absolutely no influence from my body or my laptop or anything like that. So this is why I would put the fronts, everything that is front, including the Atmos speakers, always at the front, and then put all of the rears together as well. So I would move my seat, come round to the front here, so I'm not in the way or anything like that. And that's the way I would sweep, and then you would sweep the subwoofer at the end. Well, we got there in the end. So, is that everything? Just real quick as well, if you are using a UMIC 2, always make sure you have the latest drivers. With UMIC 1, pretty sure UMIC 1 is a plug and play, so just literally plug it in. You might want to go to Windows just to see if there is an update for it, but chances are there shouldn't be. It should just be at a plug and go. So yeah, that's it. Alright, so I will link this as well. This is to get your receiver into the correct setting for measurements. So in Evo Neuron here, this is an odd.wtf file. So download this. Hopefully it won't take long. Now again, you could do this manually if you want. Basically, all of your channels need to be 0, and all of the trims on the channel itself also need to be 0. So you have a global setting for trims, and you have a per channel setting for trims as well. But this does it all for you. It may not do the trims for the actual channel though. All right, so extract all. Go down to odd, yeah. So here it says Windows batch file, odd menu. So click on odd menu, run anyway. Okay. So you can read this. Basically, number 3, optimize your receiver for manual REW measurements. Configure your AVR to manually take your own measurements of your system, speakers, subs with REW basically. One of the reasons why I'm having to do this now is because I currently have my calibration on preset A right now. So what needs to happen is you need to take measurements with, well, I take measurements with Odyssey on, but what this file does is it sends essentially a no calibrated signal with Odyssey on and just measures your speakers that way. That means as well it would force 24-bit 48. Let's just press 3. Now, first time you run this, it may come up with an error, but it looks as though it's going. typically, when I've used this in the past, it gets to about line 3 and then stops and comes up with an error. And this might just be like universal plug and play errors, like when you first connect, but then the second time it would be fine. I was lucky there, it just went through perfectly. So that's it. Now the receiver is set up with, should be zeros on everything. Apart from the channels themselves, which I'll take a look at in a second. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, let's just get that done. What is going on here? Why can't I? Oh. Don't need that anymore, but... So sweep the center. Okay, my receiver is saying Dolby Atmos. Okay, so on your remote, I know it's like small, but on any remote for a Denon, you should have an option mode, and when you press that, there's also trims on there which you can't see on the web browser. So, and content actually has to be playing, which is very annoying. So, right, I'm playing, which means channel adjust, reset. Okay, all of my channels are 0, everything, subwoofers, everything 0. So, to show you that that has worked on the receiver side, let's do a refresh just in case. Speakers, crossovers should be full range. Yep, so it did that. My speakers were set to 80 Hertz. Distances, all of the distances are 2.75, all of them. What else did it do? Levels, all of the levels are 0. Subwoofer, everything is 0. Then what it does is on the subwoofer side, well, it should be LFE, yeah, and it sets the low pass filter on the LFE channel to 250 Hertz. The reason it's doing that is because it doesn't want, you don't want another filter on that channel, you just want to measure that subwoofer without any filters on. Most subwoofers typically go to around 150 to 250 Hertz, absolute maximum. So even this filter at 250 Hertz shouldn't even play a part in the speaker at all. So pretty sure that's it. It doesn't change, like if you've got 2 outputs, it doesn't change like XLRs to RCAs or anything like that. It shouldn't do anything like that. So everything is 0 and we're ready to measure. That's it. That's all this does. And again, you can do this manually. If you've done it already, you can just skip that part. So I think we're ready to measure now. Okay. Now what I do here is just double check that we are outputting through the receiver. Yes, we are. Is go to generator here and go to noise, pink noise random, basically. Set this to center channel. Play. And then basically click on the SPL meter until that reads 75 dB. This needs to be negative 12 dBFS because if you mouse over the sweeps, they are set to negative 12 dBFS. So it's exactly the same volume as this compared to OCA sweeps as well. All right, that's it. 74 dB. You do not change the volume on the receiver at all anymore. That's it. It's done. So now one thing just before we start is the subwoofers, because depending on how you have your subwoofers set up and how easy access changing the volume is on those subs could be a bit of a problem. So what I aim to do, not so much with this calibration, because it would involve me actually having to change my levels specifically for this calibration. I'm not going to do that. I'm planning on doing it like soon, but I'm not going to do that today. But what I would do if I was you is when you sweep the subs, is make sure they're around at least 6 dB or so louder than the main levels of your channels. That's what I would do, because what you do not want is you do not want the sub to be even 4 or 5 dB low. And when you run Acoustica is going to put +5 on those subwoofer channels, and you do not want to do that. Not on subwoofer channels. I don't know if this is the same for all processors, receivers, and things like that, or if it is just Denon and Marantz. But Denon and Marantz receivers can clip if you don't like kind of adjust this. Maybe they're okay at 0 with some of these new receivers like mine, the Denon A1H with like XLR outs. I still don't risk it. If I was you, at least 6 dB above, like the actual average volume of everything. So, and again, I intend to, my subs are actually too hot right now. They're actually too hot even for Acoustica, and it actually has to EQ. It actually has to use EQ to bring the subs down. So, I definitely overshot. But, yeah, I'm going to plan on doing like a proper measure of my system again soon. I might even measure at night. One of the reasons that the benefits of measuring at night is, and when I mean at night, I mean more like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. Chances are there's like hardly any cars out on the road. The noise floor is so low then, but you do have to just convince the people in your house, you know, that you are doing this, and promise them it will only be one time. So yeah. Now, just and before we start as well, if you've got high cushion seats like I do, remove the cushions, remove everything that can get in the way of these speakers. Nothing, absolutely nothing should be blocking line of sight to any of the speakers you're measuring. None. Absolutely none. So now I'm just going to measure one seat position here. The reason I'd measure one seat position, it's in the middle of the room as well, is because I've personally found that measuring one seat gives you better tonality of all of the speakers that you're actually measuring. If you start, again, from my experience, when you start measuring 8 different positions for one speaker, the tonality now of that speaker when you EQ it falls apart. Now, for subwoofers, you could test areas with moving mic. I'm not getting into that today, but you could test that the spot that you are using to measure that bass with is fine. I have found that what I do is I put a board, like a kitchen board, on my seat currently, and I've wrapped it in really a pillow cushion, right? So there's no reflections that can go into it. And then what I do is I measure essentially 18 inches from the bottom of the board to where the microphone should be. And what I do is I literally use 4K disc cases until I get my mic at 18 inches. 18 inches is where my ears are exactly. I've got my brother to actually measure where my ears are when I sit down. And it's exactly 18. And doing that gives incredible tonality, because that's exactly where your ears are when you measure and do a full EQ, and the bass is absolutely spot on as well at that height. So that's definitely something. I make sure as well my microphone is in the middle of the seat, you know, everything. Now it is pointing straight up. I've dabbled around with the mic pointing at the speakers, you know, all sorts of positions. And I've just gone back to when it points straight up, you do get the best results. So you could, there's a couple of things though you could do. If you have a center channel like mine, which is lower, and your rears are higher, you could pitch the axis so it is in line with the center channel, and maybe even in line with your back channels. So it'd be 90 degrees, right? This is probably a little overkill. The U-Mic 1 didn't have this. The U-Mic 1 actually stood up completely straight. The U-Mic 2 though actually leans forward, and just through pure luck, the angle of the U-Mic 2 is exactly in line with my center channel. So these mics can essentially capture all of that audio in that, I guess, 180 degree, like this. So, but if your mic is completely straight and your center channel is down here, it is not going to be able to capture the sound correctly. So you do have to think about that. So yeah, height of your... If I was you, I would literally put a kitchen board or some type of board on your seat, so the microphone's not really got any issues with moving. I mean, you could use a stand. The reason I don't use a stand is because of reflections. I don't want a mic stand like actually getting in the way of the audio in any way. I've seen that through some of the people I've remote calibrated for, and I said, look, that microphone stand is actually in the way of audio. Anything that is in the room can affect the way things are measured. So that's why for me, I actually have to plan to do a measurement like this. Like if I'm doing a measurement for real, not just a YouTube video, like I actually kind of have to make time and plan for it, because everything I do is 100% OCD, like with measurements. Like if a truck goes by and it was going by while I was taking the measurements, a measurement, they're getting measured again. So yeah, all right, let's get to it. So what we want to do is, because we're not using REW sweeps, there's a clicker here, or an option here, sorry, from file. So when you click that, there's a file icon below it. So we click that. Now these are my old ones, but we're going to use the new ones. So actually these are in downloads. Downloads. Lossless. My speakers. It's not there. Where was it? Was it just in downloads? Oh, it was. I should have just put this in the lossless folder. For now, it doesn't matter, because I like to keep everything together. Doesn't matter. So we click that. That's the file that essentially tells REW, when you press start and sweep, this is how long it would be. It already knows. Look, it's 5.5 seconds. It's 256K. Use acoustic reference timing. So it knows already like what this is. So where's my camera going to be best here? I think up here, just in case. people might want to see what I'm doing with the VLC player. So because I've already swept in VLC with the center channel, there is one already here. So basically what I do now is, this is all selected, press start, and basically when you press start, now REW listens for the acoustic reference chirp that will come out of a speaker, and as soon as it hears the chirp, it will start recording. So let's go. Okay. Center. Okay, that's done. Now we get ready for the left. I load, like kind of preload these just to, one is just to make sure that the file I'm playing next is the one that I want to play. Two is to just double check that that speaker is not unplugged, right? That's really why I do that. So whatever the sweeps are called there, you want to do here. So FL. I think front left is probably accepted. I think it is. So, but for now, I mean, this should under that thing. This should be C. But I'm pretty sure it can. Now, if I do this front left, I think. Acoustica would tell me if that's the wrong like nomenclature anyway. So now you can see here the timing difference. So the center is 10 inches away in time, but the front left is not. The front left is basically perfect, and the reason is because the acoustic reference is coming out of the left channel. So because of that, that channel cannot be delayed. I'm actually going to put this to FL because I think it is FL. So there is no delay on this channel, because that is the reference timing. Now typically I would prefer to put it on the center channel, but with these sweeps we don't have that. So next, front right, double click it just to see. Okay, front right, next, front height left. So these are my Atmos speakers now. So, front, height, left. All of the naming has to be the same. The reason that center could be called center and not C is because Acoustica will look for one of the channels to start with C. Even if it has ENTER after it, it doesn't actually matter. It's looking for that. That's all it needs to know. It needs to know that it's center. Like you could put front height left 1, front height left 2, front height left 3. They can be named anything, but the first one that you measure should be 1 if you're measuring multiples, because it is always looking for this. As long as this is in the measurements, FHL, it will be used. So with that in mind, you could do this. You could measure all of your speakers from a single source, plus you could measure subwoofer 1 and subwoofer 2 from a single source. But then what you could do is move the mic 2 inches to the left and then measure subwoofer 1 and subwoofer 2 again and put that as subwoofer 1 measurement 2, subwoofer 2 measurement 2. You could do that, and then move it to the right, say 3 inches, and remeasure again. Subwoofer 1, 3, subwoofer 2, 3. You could do that. So if you wanted to make multiple measures on specific speakers, you can do that. I personally, from my experience, what I've had, the best thing to do would be to single source everything. If you must do subwoofers with multiple measurements, then you could add them at the end if you wanted to. I get incredible results and better results from single source, single seat measurements. So otherwise I'd be using it. I've been doing sub-calibration and now measurements for years, and if something's better, I use it. Multiple seat measurements weren't better, so I didn't use it. It's just as simple as that for me. If it sounds better to my ears, then I use it. Okay, front height right. Next, rear height left. Okay. You know when the sweep ends, because on this screen here, you'll see a bump up. As soon as you see that bump, you know the sweep is finished, and you can press start. Rear height left, rear height right, I don't know what it is, but I feel as though I'm getting so lucky, because I don't hear any cars outside. Even though I've got these on, I can still typically hear cars, but I can't hear any cars. Nobody's doing their lawn, nobody's doing anything. So rear height right, I'd be almost tempted to use these measurements if they were really good. So where are we? So rear height right, surround left. Now these have to be, I think these have to be labelled as A as well. Surround left A, surround right A. So surround left A. Surround right A. Okay, surround back left. Surround back left. Now, one of the reasons why I choose to do the center first is, at least this used to be the way, is that when using Acoustica and anything from OCA, typically the reference timer of a speaker was the first one on the list, which for me is really, again, I think it is best to be the center channel. I'm not sure if Acoustica works that way anymore. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Because in theory, the ordering of this may not matter at all. It may just pick through the names as to what it wants to work out first. Or as well, because the front left is the reference channel, it may just work everything based on that. I'm not really sure, but I do like to put my center on the top just in case that is a thing. So surround back left, double click that. Now you may ask as well, with all of my channels at 0, that means my channels are not balanced correctly. This is true. This is the same for mine. Certain channels, like my fronts, are like 3 dB louder than, say, the rears. But Acoustica and any manual calibration work you do after this, you can balance after that. Typically though, what I was doing before was balancing before. Surround back right. Then measuring, like making sure everything was at 75 dB. I kind of still wanted to do that, but with this app here, this is the PC Odyssey app, Multi-EQX, I made sure everything was balanced first, and then ran Acoustica, and it didn't work out correctly. So I just found out that it's best to run this Audiophile first, get all of your settings to 0. Then let a program like Acoustica just take care of the levels by itself, and it works perfectly. So you don't have to worry about the volume of any of the channels. Now, I've seen some setups before, I've measured some setups where the front channels are literally 8 to 9 dB louder than the rears, because they're ultra high, what's the word? Not frequency, but sensitivity. Yeah, they're super high sensitivity speakers, and you can't really do a lot with that because Acoustica needs the levels to be 0, and then it will figure out the volume levels after. So if you set the levels to like -7 on the fronts, I'm not quite sure if that's going to work out the way you think it would. So I just, I overthink this too. But for me, I just had to let all of that go and just kind of trust in this system of letting everything be zero and then letting Acoustica balance everything afterwards. So one of the reasons I choose 75 dB as well is because 75 dB and anything just before it really is a fine sweep volume that doesn't really incorporate too much of the room. So if you sweep at 85 dB or have tried to sweep at 85 dB and you have also swept at 75 dB and you do two different EQs, you will notice that the EQ sounds different. The 85 dB version will sound drier. One of the reasons why is because when you're sweeping at that volume, there is more energy going out now into the room. There are heavier reflections now, much heavier reflections, and sometimes they can amplify different frequencies. I have found that the higher you sweep, the more influence from frequencies are in the high frequencies and the low frequencies. The mid-range don't seem, at least in my room, don't seem to be amplified in that way. So what that means is, if you're sweeping at 85 dB, the treble area could be 0.2 higher. Now that may not sound like a lot, and the bass might be 0.2 higher. It may even only be 0.1, but the very fact is that it's higher, and when you EQ it, you are now EQing it down to a certain level, so like say a Harman target curve. And even if the system EQ'd it 0.2 more than it should, because this is just that it's trying to balance everything out. Sometimes it is not perfect, and it's just brought down the levels slightly too much in the treble. You now get a dry sound. So again, I found personally that between 70, to be honest, I've done 65 dB as well. Between 65 dB and 75 dB limits your room's reflections because the volume really isn't that loud. 75 dB is really not that loud. And when the EQ is finished, you get a gorgeous EQ because you're mostly hearing your speakers, right? Mostly at 75 dB, you are hearing your speakers and not the room. As soon as you get into 84, to be honest, I've found that as soon as you get into 79 dB, 3 dB higher, you're already changing the sound too much. You're involving too much of the room, and the tonality of the speaker just doesn't come through. So this is why I would sweep at 75 dB if I were you. Again, the reason I'm doing things is I suggest sweeping at 75 dB is because over all of these years of EQing, 75 dB gives me the best sound. So again, if 65 dB gave me the best sound, I would be using 65 dB. If it was 85 dB, if it was 79 dB, if it was 81.5, I would be sweeping at those volumes, but I'm not. The reason is because I only do what sounds best, which is 75 dB. And believe me, I've tried all of them. I've swept at 3 dB increments and done the EQ work as well. And 75 dB is a nice sweet spot. Now, there isn't much difference, though, between 65 and 75. There isn't. So if you wanted to sweep at 72, it's fine. Just, in my opinion, do not sweep above 75 dB because you're going to start changing the sound too much. All right, last speaker. Now I have, before I started the video, I have two subwoofers. I unplugged my right subwoofer because you need to measure both subs together, not together, independently. Well, now you'll see how high the subs are actually set to. So, Yeah, I can hear they're a little loud. I mean, you can even see on that sweep window there. I'm trying to think what average level would be, but let's have a look compared to, let's pull all these and put, we need to rename this, I'll do it in a sec. Right, so you can obviously see here that in green is the subwoofer, and that's a single sub. So when you put a second sub together, you're going to gain 6 dB volume as well. So we are significantly higher levels than the center channel. Now the center channel peaks at 80 dB. My speakers would peak at 60. Front right. I mean, these SVS Prime Pinnacles are stupid bass, right? They really are. They're like, I personally, I don't really know what SVS were thinking, having speakers that can produce this much bass. Like, it is crazy bass. Absolutely crazy bass. Now, you can see the difference here as well between, let's pull that. So the front right is in blue and the center channel is in red. So the treble from the Prime Pinnacles, left and right, produce significantly more treble than the center channel does. The center channel's gorgeous. It's really a really nicely balanced center channel. Everything still needs EQing. Every speaker will always need an EQ for it to sound its best. But the center channel is quite balanced compared to, say, a Harman target curve. It's really nice. It fits really nice. Now it has issues here. It has a dip here, and things like that. But I've found that you really don't want to fill this in. If you do, the dialogue of movies starts to become kind of boxy. Another thing is, just to talk about speakers themselves, is like ports on the rear of speakers. On a center channel, if you plug the ports in a center channel, it does increase dialogue quality because it removes that muffle of any potential bass muffle coming out of those ports. Really does. I can hear it. I had to plug my old ELAC Unify speakers. I had to plug them because even I had to plug them and completely change the EQ. I could not EQ this part because my other speaker had this issue as well. You couldn't EQ it because if you EQ'd it and you put bass in there, female voices, even male voices, but female voices had this horrible, just this whirring tone after they speak. It just sounded so bad. So, yeah, I would think about ports, especially for a center channel. After Acoustica has finished its calibrations, listen for dialogue clarity. Has it gone slightly overboard? Because I think OCA puts a limit in of around 3 dB for EQ, and lifting this even 3 dB potentially could cause that, I'm not going to say boominess, but that kind of resonant sound at the end of voices. So I would definitely think about that. All right, so this would be subwoofer 1. All right, that's subwoofer 1 done. What I'm going to do now is just cut and plug the other subwoofer back in and unplug this one. so give me a sec. Okay, right subwoofer is plugged in, and this is the thing, you've got to kind of do this for the subwoofers. Like if you had 4, you would have to do the same. Measure one sub on its own, measure the right sub on its own, maybe measure the back left on its own, and then measure, say, the back right on its own, however many speakers you have or subs you have. Now, if you were running through, say, a MINI-DSP, the benefit of running through a MINI-DSP is that you can mute the subwoofer channel, which is, I think, I'm actually going to plug the MINI-DSP back in, because I do so many videos, like, not so many, but it's just going to make it easier for me to, like, measure, run EQs, you know, change things, if I can just mute these channels. So if you come like here, you can just mute. So I can just mute the left channel now, and I could sweep this one. So that is the benefit of that. Now, I'm not saying that you want to buy a MINI-DSP just because it has a mute function, you know, but there potentially could be other reasons to own a MINI-DSP even after calibrating with Acoustica. So, but what I wouldn't do is, which I did at the start, is I EQ'd my subs with a MINI-DSP first. Then I ran Acoustica, and Acoustica got it like totally wrong. And now maybe it actually got it right, because from an EQ point of view, it didn't really touch anything, because the EQ work had already been done. Because I just wanted to see how Acoustica would work first. Unfortunately, we figured out that there was a negative 6 dB volume problem, or a positive, sorry. It was measuring the subs too loud. I don't think Acoustica was taking into consideration the 6 dB gain that you get from adding a second sub. At least I don't think it was. But that got fixed. So, but anyway, what you should do on, say, a MINI-DSP is essentially run it unfiltered, I would say. So, template. I mean, I have an SHD for XLRs. So let's say you had both connected. You had input 1 as my left sub and input 2 as my right sub. These are the outputs, right, or the inputs. So the left sub would go to input 1, but the right sub you do not want from input 1, you would want from input 2. So turn that off. So basically now they're independent. They're independent subs. So Acoustica could calibrate these easily, because it still has access to the left sub timing and the right sub timing. So essentially what we're doing here is, this is acting as a pass-through. So you would remove all of your EQ. All of the EQ would get removed. Like, delete all of those, all of the EQs. You don't want any crossovers. You want everything open. I'm not going to do this. Even though I am OCD, I'm not going to do it. Is there an option to just remove? Reset to default. No, it doesn't matter. But you would just remove all of the EQ. I mean, I'm sure people know how to do this. You just remove all of the EQ from this. So, can you just do it like this? Yeah, look. This is disabling each part of the EQ. The better way, though, is to come down here and just to reset. That's what I would normally do, but it doesn't matter. We would achieve the same thing. So now you are running through a MINI-DSP, and there is nothing this is acting as a pass-through, because there's nothing affecting This would be maxed out at 0 dB. This would be analog balanced. Analog balanced. Analog balanced. So that would be it, right? So this is not, essentially the MINI-DSP isn't doing anything, right, at this point. Everything is 0, there's no timings on here, there's no gains, there's no nothing. Nothing is on here. So right now we just have access to mutes. That would be it. Which it is surprisingly useful. But after a calibration is finished, you might want to do some things with the PEQs. BEQ for bass, if you've seen those threads on AVS Forum, you could apply those to your movies after the calibration. You could put some type of filters in here for different types of music, because you have 4 presets here as well. So receivers like the Denons and stuff like that, they have, say, preset 1 and 2, but they only have that. So if you wanted to switch, so if you had 2 different styles of music that you liked and you wanted to apply a curve to it, but you also had a preset for movies, it gets like kind of, you know, annoying to have to manage all of this. But with a MINI-DSP you can do this after as well. So it's just a thought there with MINI-DSP people, that you really don't need to take these out unless the timing delay of the MINI-DSP is so great that that you can't EQ any further. No, you can't time your subs with your mains because the delay is so much. That is potentially a concern going through a MINI-DSP, because you lose around 11 milliseconds going through a MINI-DSP. That is my only concern, is that you do lose time by going through it. And that means that you have to set the delays on the receiver, on the Denon, essentially as almost as high as they can go. But OCA has found a workaround to allow for greater timing, so I don't think this will be a problem. Subwoofer 2, let's go. Okay. SW2. That's it. That is all of my speakers measured. Select all. That's all of them. And as you can see, some of these are significantly lower. Like, look at this. Surround back left is... it could be 5 dB lower at that point. So, but Acoustica will rebalance all this. It will do everything for us. The subwoofers are too high, but this will get taken care of in Acoustica calibration. If you weren't using Acoustica though, you could do all the balance work back in multi-EQX here. So now, for the first time you do measurements, I think it is best to measure the system and to I guess record those measurements of the EQ in the same session. Reason is because then the mic isn't moving anywhere and you'll get much more reliable data. Now here's one thing to think about. If you truly trust programs like Acoustica, and you was like, look, I don't need to remeasure afterwards because I truly trust what OCA is doing with Acoustica. At this point, I trust what OCA is doing. I mean, there's been a few times I've had to remeasure because I'm like, what is actually happening with the EQs here? But a lot of Acoustica's problems, from my experience, are out of the way now. And I do trust what OCA is doing with Acoustica. So it's getting my levels right, it's getting my bass levels right, it's getting all of the levels of these channels correct. So at first, it might be wise, though, for you to just, hey, double check, like, the target curve that I want to be in place for, say, this system now, is the EQ, whether it's manual or whether it is Acoustica or some other method, is it doing what I want? So, all right, so what I would do now is save all. I'm not going to put them there. YouTube sweeps, and that's it. They're saved. Now, if you know that you have just done perfect measurements where background noise is kept to an absolute minimum, kids weren't screaming downstairs, you know, you had a controlled house environment with no sounds going off whatsoever. Anytime there's an update for Acoustica, you can now just load these back in and rerun it. Because you have confidence in your measurements that they were measured well, and as long as REW doesn't require, as long as Acoustica doesn't require an update on when the measurements were taken, I think that has maybe happened a couple of times before, where there's been an update for REW and it said, if you have taken measurements before this version, they can no longer be used with this version. That is rare. That is rare with REW, but it has happened a couple of times. For me, though, if that happens to me, I'm like, okay, that's an excuse for me to remeasure my system. But again, that rarely happens. So let's just say for the next year or so, these measurements, these YouTube sweeps here, are good. So whenever there is an update for Acoustica, what you do here is you pick the file here, you load them all up. This is it. These are all of my measurements. So now what you would do is, well, I mean, look, I may as well do this as well. We may as well go over this. Do I need to refresh this? Because it kind of looks weird. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so version 6 Turbo is the latest version. I am on GitHub, and there is a version called Final Version, I believe. Final Release, which I'm testing. And I haven't had any issues with it so far. It was updated 2 days ago. I saw it go up and I'm like, I'm going to download that version and see how this is. So there's probably some versions on, say, GitHub that are preceding these. But I don't think people are having too many issues with Turbo. So from what I see, I think mostly it is the same, because even the reports from the logs are still, it still says Turbo on it, so I don't know really what's changed. Mac, Windows, so there's a password required now. Download anyway. So it says here, Acoustica Windows version 6 Turbo, password is OCA. So if this now requires a password, you will have to put that in. We don't need this anymore. We don't need that. Extract all. Does it matter? OCA. Okay. Good. Let's clean this up. So even the file folder name is password is OCA, so you'll never get lost, hopefully. Open. Well, actually, let's exit REW, because it is better to do it this way. Run anyway. Let's go full screen. So, discover AVR and create a calibration configuration file. Denon A1H is the correct model, yes. Good. So what this has done is it's put this calibration file in. You can view it in Notepad. I'm not sure about this this text, the way it's. You can just view it. That's all I'll say in Notepad. So basically, what this has done is it has worked out what version of Odyssey I have, which is the highest version, number 2. It's worked out the subwoofers. My ampersine is free, which in the amp is actually custom. It is a custom 11.1 layout, so it knows this. And these are all the commands. So I've labeled my C as center. Will there be an issue there? We'll see. I don't think there will be, but again, it's figured out what speakers we have. Surround left A, surround right A, surround back, front height left, front height right, front height, rear height left, rear height right, and 2 subwoofers. That's all this needs to know. And it essentially correlates that with the measurements themselves. So if something is missing for some reason, it's either in the measurements or it is in the AVR file, this config AVR file, not going through correctly. So next, let's zoom in a bit. So 2, start optimization. It opens A1 Evo in the browser, and it should also open REW with the port open. I can't remember what it is, but oh, the API enabled, yeah. So do you want to attempt to launch REW with the API enabled? Yes. Okay, so we just have to wait here. REW has been opened. And the browser has been opened as well. Okay, so what we do, so just to show you what it did is, if you go to API is running on port 4735. So if you kept your REW open before and this API was not running, the Acoustica will let you know, and you just come to this API server here and press start server. So but what we'll do is we'll open all the measurements that we just took. I know people have seen this before, but hey, it's just one video. Someone might just want to watch one video and just go through this. So alright, so if you scroll down here, I have this enlarged just so well, I'm not saying I have bad eyes, but I do like things to be large. I don't know why. Just I think it's because I do sometimes do a lot of this at night, like on my laptop, just in bed, and I want things to be a certain size just so I can see them while I'm half asleep. So now you can set your system up exactly how you want to set things up, but for me personally, an 80 hertz crossover with a sub EQ boost of 6 and enable all pass filters sounds the bee's knees, right? It sounds excellent. So that's me. You can do what you want. What you could do is, if you honestly know, well, all right. So here's a few rules of thumb that I employ, and I've done this for years. Is how bassy are your speakers, and then essentially take away 20 hertz. That's what I do, and that's how I come to the 80 hertz thing. So most of my speakers are good to 60 hertz. This is rear height right. These ELAC speakers are good to 60 hertz. If I said 80 there, I meant 60. So let's check another speaker. Wait, surround right A. Maybe a bit before, but it can just about get to 60. Now the fronts might be a little bit of a different story, but to be honest, again though, in psychoacoustic it shows that their bump is at 60 hertz, and then they drop off. Right? Now there might be some performance still here because the bass levels are still so high on these speakers, but if you look at just this, it shows that you can get to 60 hertz, right? Center channel may not be able to get there, right? But again, I don't want voices going through the subwoofer, so there's no way on a center channel I would choose. There's a zero chance on a center channel that, in my opinion, that you should set your subs to, say, 120 or, say, 200 hertz. On a sub, you are going to get dialogue coming through the subs, and that's going to sound so bad. If I heard that in a demo room, I'd probably walk out. I mean, that's, for me, that would be embarrassing. If you can hear dialogue that is not, and I'm not talking like The Matrix, where there's an evil guy at the end talking, that bass is put onto his voice so it comes out of the subs. I'm not talking about The Lion King, where his dad is in heaven and he's talking down to him, and it's supposed to be that kind of deep bass put on that way. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everyday conversations where you can hear dialogue coming out the subwoofer. That is bad. No way. That's just not happening on my system. Like, I don't care what anyone says about, well, the perfect crossover here is actually 110 or 120 hertz. Don't care. It doesn't sound good. It just to me, I know I'm being like pretty opinionated about this, but in my opinion, it sounds like trash. It sounds like complete trash to have 80 hertz signals above 80 hertz going to the sub, especially from the center. Luckily, you can choose center speaker here. So you could, I'm not advising this, but you could put your mains to 40 hertz and 250 and have Acoustica work things out for you, but your center channel is locked. And the reason you want to lock your center channel is because you are going to get an awful dialogue experience if you don't lock in at 80. Maybe, just maybe, you could go to 90. 90 there. Maybe. You can only just hear 90 hertz directionally from a sub. I can just hear it. Now, I don't know if it's just me, I have stupidly high sensitive ears or what, but I know when I can hear bass coming out of those speakers, those subs, versus my actual speakers here. I know I can hear it. I can actually hear them. And for me, if you want good sound, you should never hear where bass is actually coming from. So yeah, that's why I do 80. Now, people have told me that, hey, I've tried all sorts of different ones, and I think Acoustica does a really good job at getting the crossovers good. Okay, great. That's fine for you. You know, you can, this is your sound, this is your system, and you tailor make the sound that you like with these settings, right? For me, these are the best settings. I only do what sounds better. This sounds better. So again, it's like, it's coming back to this whole thing I've been doing over the years. There's a reason I sweep at 75 dB. There's a reason I use these settings, because they sound better. I've tested Acoustica where it picked the crossovers. Doesn't sound good. Now, I'm not saying it sounds bad from a tonality point of view. We've got all of the EQs and everything beautiful, right? It's really, really good job. But I can localize the bass in the subs. Why would I want that? So there's just no way it's going to happen. Now, all pass filters. Can you see this? I just want to know my cameras. All pass filter here. If I was you, I would enable all pass filters and also do another EQ without all pass filters. So what all pass filters essentially are doing, it is allowing to change the timing of the speakers and the way sounds come to you by essentially almost fixing room problems. And to me, when you enable all pass filters, it sounds as though you're in a treated room. Some people might not like that. What it does is it makes the sound so tight. Again, to me, it sounds like if you've ever been in a high-end movie theater with room treatment, everything, absolutely everything is gone into that room. It sounds like that. That's what all pass filters do. However, on the flip side of that, it may not sound as natural to your ears. I have experienced that where it may sound a little over processed. Look, maybe in a month's time I'll feel a little different, but it does take a little while for your ears to get used to if you've been hearing your system for a long time, like I have. I knew immediately when all pass filters were on. I knew immediately. Dialogue changed, sounds changed, the way everything, it sounded, all the sounds sounded cleaner than they did before. So I would use all pass filters, but again, you might want to, if you think the sound isn't say maybe wide enough, maybe disable all pass filters. You could do that. But if you're after that extremely tight, high resolution, almost hi-fi sound of really clean audio, enable all pass filters sounds better. So it really does. Again, I am using settings that I have tested, listened to, and this sounds better. So again, this is why I use it. I'm not just picking random things here because I think they sound better. These actually sound better. That's my thought process on that. So, okay, we'll see if center is named correctly here. So, all of the measurements are in. Actually, let's put it... don't use all SPL because it's very slow. So SPL and phase is where you want it to be selected. And here it says start optimization using the measurements currently loaded in REW. We have all of our measurements. We have both subwoofer measurements. We have everything that is on that list that is detected by the receiver as well. So press start. Oh, there isn't a target curve. So this would be a generic EQ, or essentially a movie EQ. So I would use the Harman target curve for that. So target settings, and these are all my target curves I've just started playing around with. So I've created music target curves, a high treble target curve, a standard target curve with a treble raise at around 12,000 kilohertz. I've reduced the bass of a Harman target curve because a Harman target curve's bass rises too fast for music. The move is though it sounds excellent. So we're going to pick the Harman curve. We'll stick that in. And this is going already. As soon as I put that target curve in, the system just, it's going. So and yeah, now we just wait for it to so this Acoustica is literally just EQing your system for you. All of the work that I would have typically had to have done with by myself, I don't have to do that. This system does it for me in probably 2 or 3 minutes. It has gotten longer. So, because over time this like program has changed. There's now a system in place where it is working out the frequency response of your subwoofer, and it's trying to work out where it needs to roll them off from the low end and the high end. So this program, at this point, I think all of the updates that this program has just made it incredibly good, and it's getting to the point now where I think a lot of Acoustica's updates will be just bug fixes. So as you can see here, LFE is 250 Hz low pass filter. That is getting changed when it gets transferred to the receiver by me manually to 120 Hz. What I have found is if you allow Acoustica to EQ up to 250 Hz in the LFE channel itself, then you manually change the 250 Hz to 120 Hz is the exact same as the custom low and high pass filter that you have access to in Acoustica of changing that to 120 Hz. It's exactly this. It's literally exactly the same. So this again comes down to, I want my subwoofer channel to roll off at 120 Hz so I can not localize bass coming out of the subs. When Acoustica, before this, Acoustica are like version 5 point something, was setting my LFE channel to 150 Hz, I could localize bass coming out of the LFE channel. So again, I had to change it to 120 Hz. So you'll notice a theme with me. I cannot stand localizing sub bass out of a subwoofer channel. To me, it sounds so bad. It's really bad. Alright, that's finished. So it says here in orange, you can see it. Please return to the main application and transfer saved calibration files to your receiver using option 3. Well, at first, when I very first started using this, I was like, what the? I was like, I have no idea. I had no idea how to get it to the receiver. But then I forgot this screen was open, this black screen. There is also an option here to transfer optimized calibration. So we can just do that now. So transfer. and you get some, so you can, down here you can manually choose a file and send it to the receiver, which I've never done, but there's only one other option here. It's the one we just did, movies, Harman target curve, 74.1 dB, plus 6 dB boost, and that's it. So it's just that one file. So if you press 1, because this is 1, so you press 1, that's the one we want. We're currently on preset 1, so I want it sent to preset 1. Not available. Uh-oh. It is transferring. I don't think I've ever seen this before, that overrides forcing speakers to small. Because when I send stuff, it's typically my system is already in 80 Hertz. So we'll have to see. It went through okay. Calibration settings were transferred successfully. Den and A1H is now updated. So flat is what you want to be using now for all listening that is not at night. And reference is for low listening levels. I didn't know how his reference setting was working, but apparently I'm assuming, again, I am assuming here that it is boosting treble levels and bass levels at low listening levels to make it sound normal. But I always, when I'm in this room, I watch movies at a particular level, and flat for me is always what I want to use. So that's that. Before we check the receiver out what it did, you can also check out these logs, which I always do, because I'm a fiend for knowledge. I need to know what happened to it, to the calibration, and right. So I wanted a 6 dB boost used on the subwoofer channel. The reason why is, well, if we check the results, you'll see why, is it gives incredible subwoofer calibration doing that. All pass filters are true. Minimum searchable crossovers for all speakers is 80 Hertz, so you locked in at 80 Hertz. Basically what this does as well is the benefit of locking in at a particular frequency for a crossover like this is Acoustica is a system where it will constantly bang its head against the wall until it finds the perfect timing for the 80 Hertz crossover. So it will have to work out, like, not so much phase, but it will have to work out the distances between other speakers and the subs to get perfect rises and transfers to the subwoofer. So for me, it's just a win-win. This whole system is a win-win on 80 Hertz crossover. So we didn't have a target curve, so it was asking for it. It is aware of the version of REW that we're using as well, Beta 85. We've now got the Harman target curve in. Let's just have a quick look what it did with the subs. So the relative difference between my subs are 0 dB, because I went pretty crazy on making sure that my subs were both playing the same volume. So they are completely gain matched, and it shows here. Whereas when I first did this calibration, my subs weren't gain matched perfectly, and there were differences here by about 1.2 dB. So even if your subs play the same volume, or like let's just say you have an SVS sub, right, with a remote, you can you can change the volume on the phone. Just because both say -10 may not mean they're both playing the same volume, so you might want to just check it. One sub could have an offset by 1 dB, right? It could. So you might just want to check it. Because one of my subs here, is louder than the other. The volume knob, mine are just analog volume knobs. I can't change my volume on an app or anything like that. One of them is louder than the other, and this is why I go back and forth measuring these subs near field to get them perfect. So so the delay between the subs, like sub 1 and sub 2, is 0.09 milliseconds. That can change based on where you have your mic set. My previous calibration might be 0.06. This is now 0.09. Minor differences. In all fairness, between 0.06 and 0.09, it won't make any difference to the sound. So subwoofers 1 and 2 are aligned and level matched. Now this is going over all of the changes needed in the AVR to make sure the channel levels are actually balanced. So as we could see, these rear channels, like so my fronts, right? Front left, front right. The front left is 3 dB louder than, well, the average volume. The right one is 2.5 dB louder. The center channel, no, it's not center. But some of these channels, front height left is 1.5 dB lower than the average volume. I keep saying, I mean to keep saying the other, like to the center channel, but that's not how this system works. So some channels are being lowered by 3 dB, maybe even in 3.5 dB, and others are having to be boosted by plus 1.5, ones, and things like that. So everything plays at the correct volume. So what was the center? Center is negative 1.5. Okay. Final target level is 74.12. And then what it does is it calculates this. It basically calculates your subwoofer. So the roll-off of these subs is at 14 Hertz, and it even says that this is a 36 dB per octave roll-off, and then the low-pass filter is set to 250 Hertz with a R4, which is, actually I think it might be 36 dB per octave roll-off, I think. Could be wrong. 42? But yeah, you can see all these calculations here. Now, if you can see this, that the applied volume adjustment for the subs is 11.49. So I am on the edge, I'm right on the edge of having too much volume in my subs that the receiver doesn't actually have enough volume to bring them down. Luckily, I haven't hit that threshold yet, but when I use my music target curve, I do. I actually meet that threshold, and this Acoustica actually has to bring the levels down with EQ as well as the levels themselves. That's not a place I want to be, but for me, I want my AVR setting to really say -8, -9, -10, around there, right? I don't like the idea of hitting a ceiling for too much volume so you can't do any more. But I do like the fact here I'm not hitting the edge of a wall and there is still room left in the system. I like that. I like that there's still room left in the system. I mean, look at this as well. Brute force searching for optimal front, left and right sub configuration. that is, again, this is the beauty of Acoustica. Me doing this manually, like, I have to do work after work after work after trying to get the fronts to align to the mains, and you know, this takes a lot of time. Where this did it in like 3 minutes. So it's figured out the delays for the subs, 17 milliseconds, about 3 times. Actually, is it in milliseconds? That's in milliseconds, so I don't know. One sec. Right, so it is. It's about 3 times the distance. This is an interesting thing, because I think there were some people on YouTube making videos about this one time, about if you apply 3 times the distance of your mains in the subs, that you get perfect, like, bass. And yeah, it does seem to be true, but to be honest, it depends how much delay is running through your subs in the first place. So, but it is interesting that is pretty much 3 times the distance. Now, if I put a MINI-DSP through this, this would not say 8, 7, 6 or 28 feet. It would probably say 30. So significantly more delay by going through in the MINI-DSP. If it can do it, if Acoustica though can still manage it, I'm fine going through the MINI-DSP. So, I mean, I was going through the MINI-DSP anyway, and I didn't have the room in a receiver. With Odyssey's default settings, I didn't have the room. I was like 3 to 4 milliseconds off of the timing where it absolutely should be. Could you hear it? No. It was so close anyway that you couldn't hear it. So I have full confidence in Acoustica that if I put my MINI-DSP back in, it will work out the timing perfectly anyway. So now if you see here, they are using all-pass filters as well. Some of these channels are using all-pass filters because the timing, I mean, anything could be happening with audio. Some signals could be hitting the wall and having more impact. It could be anything. So, but again, these all-pass filters are set in a way that it just makes your room sound so clean. So it says as well what type of all-pass filters are being applied to these channels, like how much Q is needed, which is high Q would be like very sharp cuts. Low Qs, like in these 1.5s though, are not aggressive cuts. I don't really know too much though beyond this about all-pass filters, so but it is happening there in the background. And now some of these, look, what channel is that? I don't know what channel it is. I don't know if that's the left. It says left all-pass filter, right all-pass filter. I don't know if that's the channels. Now I've seen this as well. Some of my speakers don't need all-pass filters used on them. It's only others do. So that's basically it. So it took 4 minutes. 4 minutes, and that would take hours to calibrate manually on your own. Hours. And even if you wanted to actually copy the work of what Acoustica is doing, it might even take days. So the work that has been done here from OCA is tremendous, and it will give you a sound that even doing this on your own with Multi-EQX Editor PC app, that you just simply cannot get. I've read a few comments about like, well, if you are using, this was in the, when I first started using it, I was getting a few comments saying, well, if you're only using 80 Hertz crossover, you may as well do everything manual yourself. That's not true at all. The sound quality is so much better than you can get on doing this on your own. Now, I've thought as well about EQing manually and not using such aggressive EQ cuts like OCA does, because OCA does not use aggressive EQ cuts. Some people may measure their system as well, and even I asked OCA at the start, the EQ doesn't look good. It doesn't look that great, and it's because OCA is not applying aggressive cuts and boosts to the actual EQ itself. It's being very I don't really know what the word is, just, I guess neutral about it. So real quick, whatever you do, do not go into your AVR with the remote control and check levels. Never do it, because it'll erase all of the work that you've done. Don't do it. So what I do is use the web app here, which isn't always accurate, but it you can view things in this web interface and not have an influence on the receiver at all. So I can go to levels here and see what it's done. But if you go to the levels on the receiver, it starts a test tone. And as soon as you start a test tone, all of the data is gone. All of it. So you can never do it. So you can see here, it's put the subs at 11.5. I'm okay with that. I have not hit the ceiling yet. The ceiling is -12. That is the absolute maximum. Now again, this is too hot. My subs are too high, and I'm going to change it in the future. But I'm just still in a position where Acoustica gets the job done. It gets it done well anyway. I still have 0.5 of a dB room left. It's really no rush, right? But I will change that. I'll increase the sub levels by probably around 2 dB. And again, this is just a safe threshold now to have, where your subs could be 8 to 9 dB loud. And that means taking less stress off of the receiver, because this will clip. If you watch a Christopher Nolan movie and your subwoofers here say either 0 or they say, if they say positive and you watch a Christopher Nolan, you're going to clip the subwoofer channel easily. So it's just a little fail-safe for me that I do, because I noticed with my last receiver that something was causing the subs to clip. At first I was told it was the MINI-DSP, and I was like, I don't think it's the MINI-DSP. So what I did is I rebalanced everything, and I put -6 on the receiver, and I used the same EQ on my MINI-DSP. I put it at the same volume, and there was no clipping whatsoever. And I was like, that's the receiver. The receiver's clipping that bass. So that's why I do it. Now, you really only need about -6, right? Me going up to, say, -10 or 11 or whatever this is, was a misjudgment by me. But, you know, next time I'll fix it. So it's got all of these in, and again, do not check these on the actual receiver itself. So it's rebalanced everything. These were 0 before. Crossovers. Everything is 80 Hertz. That's exactly what I want. For me, it gives the best sound. I cannot localize bass out of my subs. Perfect. We're on speaker preset. I can view distances. Okay, right, I see what it's done. So when I said, oh, put the center channel on top of the results in REW, and it will use that as the reference timing, that didn't happen. Because the original, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I might have to check the video, but I'm pretty sure the original reference timing was 2.75, and now everything is mapped to that timing from the left channel. That's why these are equal. That's why the left and the right, because they're positioned in exactly the same positions, and the mic is in the center of the room, these are the same. Subwoofers are 8 meters away. Most of these are really close. Yeah, so that's that. What else do I want to check? So the crossovers are correct. The distances look to be applied. Subwoofer output. So it's kept it as LFE. Some people have asked, there's an option. Oh, no, not LFE plus main. Where is it? Distribution. Where they want stereo bass, and this doesn't, Acoustica doesn't support stereo bass, so that's why it was, I don't think it's here though, because that's just LFE plus main. I think it's distribution. But it's not highlighted right now. I'm not sure why. But I don't use it. I don't use stereo bass. I think it's a gimmick. I don't think it's a gimmick. It is a gimmick. Because again, if you can hear that bass is coming from that part of the room, then I don't want that. So I come in and change this to the default, which is 120 Hertz. When you see that whirring going around on the screen in the middle there, that means it went through. If you don't see that, like if you change the crossovers of, say, any of the channels, and it doesn't whir around like that, then something's wrong, which has happened with this Denon A1H before. XLR assign. Yeah, so distribution, yeah, is not, I don't know. Oh, maybe it's a setup thing. This in the speaker layout, maybe I can change it there. I don't want to do this. It is, yeah, here it is. So this is in speaker layout and configuration. Subwoofer mode is standard. You can change it to directional, which I don't advise. I think it's stupid. I think it's a completely stupid idea. Now, I mean, look, let's be honest. So, subwoofer mode being directional, there's only one good thing it would ever do, and that is all the frequencies above 80 Hertz to say, let's just say 200. You could tell that it was coming from the right side of the room. I don't want that. Like, why would I want to localize the, like, I don't know. I just wouldn't do it. I don't think it's a good idea. And that's the thing. Because it's a new feature on these receivers, I've seen like comments on, say, the Facebook group. It's basically they're coming from the thing of, this feature has been added to the receiver and I want to use it. The problem is in my opinion, again, it's not a good idea to do this. So, but that's just me. Look, I want my bass and I want my system to sound a particular way. I want tight, clean bass that I cannot tell where it's coming from. And I want my crossovers at this level, from the LFE channel to the crossovers themselves. Low pass, yep, that's back to 120. Okay, that's it. So, well, with everything set, why don't we actually see how it measures? Nope, no. So clear. That's the target curve. Apply settings. Okay. Now, the reason this is 70 and this is 80 and not 75, 80 is because there's so many measurements here that it actually just pushes the screen. It squashes the screen and the results. That's just one thing that is actually annoying in REW. I kind of wish it just wouldn't do that. So the only way would be to, oh, can I do that? Pull it down. Can I do that? Oh, I can do that. Okay. Now you can see that they're 75. Okay. Well, you learn something new every day. Well, I want both subs back in. 1 second. Okay, subwoofers are plugged back in. I think that's what we were sweeping last time, so come to measure. You can start a brand new REW here if you want and measure all of your speakers. That's what I do. Just for the sake of the video for a sec, I'm not going to do that. So start. Okay, that's not what I wanted to have happen. That can be deleted. Oh, so somebody told me on the group or AVS forum about this. You can look here, subwoofer internals, which is really cool. So basically, this is how Acoustica is seeing the performance of your sub to the target curve itself. I just think this is really good information to know. So it is just rolling off just before 20 hertz there. I think it was 14, but it is rolling off in that way, and that's just the way it sees it. I actually agree with this because this is the type of filter I was using with say a MINI-DSP. So I think lately what I've done is not use any high or low pass filters on Acoustica and just let Acoustica do its job, and I've been listening to the way it's set up, and I do think it's doing an excellent job. It did not used to do this though, by the way. In some of the previous versions, even in 6.4 only just started doing it. 6.5 didn't sound good. So yeah, it's only just got to this level where the subwoofer roll-off for my system sounds really, really good. What OCA is doing. Now, am I going to get this as a sub response? We'll see. So what I did there is, because this was a new session of REW, the from file wasn't picked, and it just swept, I think, the center channel randomly. So we go to file again. This is in the downloads, my downloads folder, and I click this reference file here, which should be in my folder, unfortunately, but so you click that, start. And Acoustica does all the work for you. Look at it. It follows my target exactly perfectly and rolls off. It actually, so the internals were rolling off. Look at that. The internals were rolling off before, but I'm still getting performance to there. 16 hertz, which I think these subs are rated to 16 hertz. I think they are, and that's where they're rolling off at, so it's good to see. Now, there could be some discussion here for, do you want them rolling off right at their limit, right? That is a discussion, definitely. But like I said, from what I'm hearing, I think Acoustica is doing an excellent job so far, rolling these subs off when needed. You don't want boosts going on like in these low frequencies, and your subs have no right playing those frequencies. So, I mean, for me, that is just a great subwoofer calibration. That's excellent. Now, sure, we're in psychoacoustic mode. There's going to be some dips here and there, sure. But this is what we hear. We hear in psychoacoustic. You're going to hear clean bass like this. This is with the 120 hertz roll-off. You're going to hear clean bass here. So the biggest thing for me was when using Acoustica was, can it get the subwoofer levels right? When I first started using it, it couldn't get the subwoofer levels right. And I was like, well, I can't even use this. So subs. So let's sweep another channel. Let's, does this like not like two of them being open? Let's sweep the center channel. Dialogue clarity. How good is it? Well, not just dialogue clarity, what is going on with the crossover as well? Now my center channel does have that dip, but I actually don't want that boosted. And if I set the system to allow it to choose to cross over before that point, no. That wouldn't, in my opinion, again, that wouldn't sound good. Okay. So pull the subs out. I mean, look at this. So here there is a small dip, and that is probably the crossover because of that. But that's just a minor thing here. And then you have clean, perfect bass. Now, if you could say to me, well, if you picked 90 hertz, this would clean that up and it would be perfectly smooth. Okay. But again, if I'm localizing bass, you having to choose one or the other, I think, with this. Now, I'm glad it didn't overboost this or do anything crazy here. Let's look at the rest of it. Now, you might, again, I was doing manual EQ myself, and when I first seen Acoustica doing its work like this, I was like, why is it allowing why is it not correcting some of this? Like this, why is it not corrected? Why is it not on the line? The speakers just, it sounds better. Even with this, like this, my targets, when I used to sweep them after, used to lock onto my target the entire way down this. But they didn't sound this good. With the all-pass filters in place, it doesn't sound this good. It just does not sound as good. And the EQ, if anything, doesn't look as good. So OCA is doing something very special here that doing it manually is not quite the same. I have actually made a video before about over EQing speakers, and I think that is probably the cause here. When I was doing it manually, there was just too much EQ being applied, and it doesn't really sound that good when you do that. I think I made a video where I said the least amount of EQ for some reason actually sounds the best. I think I've done tests where instead of using a psychoacoustic, I was actually using 1/3 octave for smoothing and EQing off of that, and it sounded better. So I think over EQing definitely has its drawbacks. It doesn't sound natural anymore, whereas this EQ does. Let's try maybe another one. So let's try the fronts, right? How are the fronts handling crossover? So we'll do the left, and then maybe I'll do like a front height speaker, and then that'll be about it. So Center. So this is going to be front left. I'm actually getting a positive reinforcement on bass there, on this one. So again, this point here is the crossover at 80 Hertz, and we're getting positive bass. Now, one of the reasons why is because the bass on these SVS speakers is borderline stupid. So this is unsmoothed, but you can see that this bass here was crazy. And it has to pull this down, right? Maybe there's only a certain amount of play that you can do there. And if you put too much EQ, negative EQ in there, it may not sound as good. But to me, having a little bit more bass is completely fine. So for me, 80 Hertz crossovers on these speakers are absolutely perfect. And again, you have the added benefit of not hearing this. Now you could say, what's this? This is actually the speaker, or it's the speakers in this room doing this. Very much similar to the center channel as well. That like kind of here, that dip there, that's just, it's either the center channel, being in I wouldn't say this is a cabinet, but it's like a rack. It could be any number of things, but I am thankful that it is not overcorrecting this, because if you overcorrect here, you get that it's too warm. It's just too warm when you overcorrect for it. I've done it. It doesn't sound good. Thankfully, it's not doing it. So again, this EQ, it kind of looks okay. It doesn't look great, but again, you listen to it. It sounds so much better than you can do manually. Manually, I can get far better results than this, and again, it doesn't sound as good. So I asked OCA how he does his calculations. Front left. Basically, he says, he told me that he doesn't go above +3 boosts. I'm assuming he still uses more negative EQ. I'm assuming there's not a limit on the negative EQ it could use. But the boosts are kept to +3. I was like, okay. So I think I could do this. Now, another thing I could do manually is split my EQs into two. Right? I could EQ everything from 250 Hertz using high resolution, like, unsmoothed. I could use unsmoothed bass EQ, load that into Odyssey, and then everything above 250 Hertz, you use, say, 1/3 octave smoothing. Then what I do is you can, in arithmetic here, you can essentially splice one response of the 1/3 and the ultra high resolution response of the bass. You've split them, but you can then splice those two together and create one response. Then you EQ that. Then I think you would get close to what OCA is doing, as long as the 1/3 smoothing didn't have issues where you needed to increase something by +3. So you just kind of need to, in my opinion, you just need to find a resolution that does not allow for greater than +3 dB boosts. The other way you could do it is actually go into the EQ section. I don't do this because I use arithmetic when I put my EQs in, but you actually could use the EQ here. And oh, he's actually got it in here. I think these are applied by OCA. So look, match range 200 Hertz to 12,500. Individual max boost is 3. This has been put in by Acoustica. Flatness curve is 1, so it is trying to do everything it can to get these targets as close to the line as possible. So allow high shelf, -3 +3. I'm not quite sure how that is. I'd have to look into this. I haven't actually looked into this. But this by the looks of it, is what OCA has been working with. Individual max boosts of +3 only, above 200 hertz to 12,000. Then everything above 12,000 looks to, I'm assuming, only uses negative EQ. So what I could do is split my EQs into 3. You do anything below 200 hertz, ultra high resolution, like the highest it goes. Then 200 to 12,500, and only allow, say, +3 dB boosts, and then everything above 12,500 only to use negative EQ. Only, no boosts. That's probably why the sound sounds so smooth. The thing is, for me to do it requires a lot of work on a single channel, whereas OCA has programmed Acoustica to actually do this as it goes, and it's just a machine doing it. It's just so much more efficient to have this do it than me do it. But I do like to tinker, so I would like to test myself, like to say, hey, can I see if I can get my system to sound as good as what OCA does manually, completely manually, using the PC app here, Odyssey. I think you could get close, but I don't think you're ever going to get there because, well, number one, you don't have access to all pass filters. You don't have access to any of that. You only have access to amplitude, essentially, target curves. That's it. EQ. So you do have timing. You do have channel levels. There's a lot you can do in a system to make it sound really good still. But with OCA's Acoustica here, it's the icing on top of the cake. It has everything, and it can do it in 4 minutes. Crazy good. So front height left, let's do that one, because I think it was using all pass filters. And then this will be it. Positive bass again. So turn that off. So again, there's actually positive bass reinforcement here. Probably too much, by maybe even a couple of dB there. But again, I don't care. I really don't care how Acoustica has to deal with this. Whether some channels are half a dB over, like maybe even the left channel, and just a little bit boosted. And this one has a little bit going on there. Whereas if you allowed Acoustica to choose the crossovers, what if, so look at this. If this speaker, I would not be surprised if Acoustica chose 200 hertz to get a perfect crossover. And I'm telling you, it wouldn't sound as good. It wouldn't sound as good because now the bass that is meant for that direction over there, of where you can hear the direction of bass, is now coming from the floor, from these subs. That's what I don't like. So, sure, there's some compromise, but I feel as though the compromise is a good one. Where you do get some areas of, this is a boosted bass. The center channel might have slightly low bass. That I think there was a dip around the same thing, but it's very, very to me, it's very, very minor. This is a minor compromise for just simply better sound. So that was front height left. front height left. Now let's just see if the other side is the same. So front height right. It's a symmetrical room, but there's a door on this side, so chances are it will be different, but how much different? One thing is I have an Auro 3D layout. My height speakers are not in the ceiling, they're at the very top of the wall. So with them being that close to the wall, they do get a lot of bass reinforcement. Same. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Do you notice though one incredible thing that Acoustica is doing? It is level matching the system perfectly. Where's the others? Center. Center channel is perfectly matched. Front left. Front left is perfectly matched. Now, sure, there are differences because of how much EQ is being applied, but on average, this system is measuring at, what's that, 70, it was 74.3, right? It was measuring at doesn't it say? I think it says 74.1. It's getting all the speakers at 74.1. The bass channel is following the target perfectly. I mean, this is the type of system I've wanted from Odyssey. Why can't Odyssey do this? Why can't Odyssey, the PC app or the phone app, allow you to put a text file in the Harman target curve and measure the system with the Odyssey mic provided and apply this type of EQ to your system? Why can't it do that? Why does it have this horrific flat target curve with no bass, absolutely no bass, and the system to me sounds like a Best Buy demo room? If you don't live in the US, a Best Buy demo room is essentially, I guess I think in England they have like Currys and audio stores like that. It's like an equivalent of that, and you know, they have it set up like crap, basically. That's what Odyssey is to me. It's complete trash. And it's because the people that have made it, or actually I think the phone app actually might have been made from the people from Denon itself. This app, however, though, is made by Odyssey, and everything you can do in Odyssey, you can pretty much do in Acoustica, apart from this insane EQ that's going on here. You have to do it all yourself. It's really hard. So I think that's it. I think that's everything that people would want to see from this. I mean, I know I've been yapping about other things other than taking measurements, but I kind of, like, even the mistakes at the start, I kind of want to, even though, like, I don't want to take those out of the video or anything like that, I just want you to see, like, the process that I was going through in my head of, okay, making sure these speakers are in order, you know, and for me, mentally simplifying this for me. I'm not going over here and trying to find speaker names and labels. Again, that's another reason for putting things in its own folder. Work out the speakers that you have, put them in a folder, only sweep those. If you need to figure out the names, I will try and get them in the description. But I think most people should know what they are. In the receiver, when you are picking like your layout, custom layout, I think it should tell you what the label of them are, of the speakers are. So if this is the first time you're seeing this, I will leave a link to OCA's channel and video. And yeah, this is extremely impressive sound. All right, this is, I don't think, well, I'm convinced, I haven't heard Dirac on my system, but I'm convinced that there is no other room correction software like this out on the market that is free. Like, this is free. So if you think the sound is as good as I think it is, go to his channel here. Mute. Go to one of his videos here. And where is it? Give a thanks. If you can. I mean, if you can't, then don't. But if you can, try and give thanks to OCA for doing this, because again, this is free. This type of quality of calibration software, in my opinion, compared to, say, this is worth $199, which is the Multi-EQX app. For me, OCA, it would be in the $600 worth, at least. For the type of quality calibration that this is, it's a $600 piece of software. Easily. Easily. That's how good this is. So if you haven't tried it, please try it. You found out I watch Asmongold now. Crap. Okay. So, but yeah, give it a try, and yeah, this is impressive stuff. So, yep, that's the video. Have a good one, and I'll see you. Bye.